Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pal Over Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys and it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue number 19 of Stormbringer magazine, and we have a super cool hero for our Stormcast Eternals. We have Gardas Steel Soul. Now, Gardas Steel Soul is a pretty cool mini. He is worth roughly about 20 quid on his own, so £9 for a £20 model is a bargain. He is doing his superhero landing. He carries a pretty damn cool sword. He carries his good old Sigmarite hammer, and he can have a helmet or he can have his helmetless head. Entirely up to you which one you want to do. Either looks pretty cool. I am going to go without the helmet. I have decided I will be doing without the helmet because it just looks more interesting. However, it will be a different colour scheme from that scheme when I've done it and all is said and done. But really cool mini. I'm quite happy with that mini. It's a really nice one. It is one of the better posed Stormcast Eternals. Some of them look a bit bland and a bit boring, but the heroes always look cool, which is what you want with heroes. They always look like they're doing something pretty heroic, really, you know, like superhero landings. So anyway, into this week's issue, we are greeted by the Cruel Boys and War magic. Auric magic is unstable, dangerous and powerful. Even the wisest mages struggle to resist such savage spellcraft. Strange, ancient magic runs through all Aurochs. This is known as the War. This magic does not originate from the realms or from pacts with the dark gods. Instead, War magic is a primal energy that emerges from Aurochs. When a large enough horde of such creatures gather, green lightning crackles among their ranks, while huge gatherings of grots create similar concentrations of magic. Auric wizards wield war magic with the same cruel creativity as Auric warriors wield lumps of sharp metal. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff there. Nice bit of information about war magic and the fact that it is very different from other magic. Most other magic within the mortal realms follows a different realm. So for instance, in the realm of beasts, you have that kind of bestial magic, which is your brown magic, if I remember rightly, which is all to do with Gur. We have golden magic from Azir, we have kind of grey magic from Ulgu, we have fire magic from Akshi, we have death magic from Shyish. So really cool stuff. It's some really interesting to know that war magic in the lore of the Age of Sigmar does not actually follow one of the winds of magic, and instead it's just part of the Aurochs being instead. So which is kind of interesting. Then we move on, we have some information about the War Wizard. So obviously we have a picture of our good old Swamp Caller Shaman and his little pot grot friend. Then we also get the Weird Knob Shamans as well, Weird Knob Shamans of the Iron Jaws channel magic of unbelievable potency and power. Many an ingenious mage of Tzeentch or the Lumineth have attempted to beat Weird Knob Shaman in a sorceress duel only to be annihilated. And we're also Fungoid Cave Shaman of the Gloomspite Gits, and you know, they generally follow the Gifts of Mork as well with those. So pretty cool stuff. Then we get a bit more history for the Mortal Realms. Sigmar's Storm. So Sigmar's Storm was the campaign that brought the Age of Chaos to an end and began the Age of Sigmar. Stormcast Eternals descended to the realms for the first time in an attempt to free them from chaos. So Sigmar's Storm is the name given to the daring offensive to liberate the realms from the clutches of the dark gods. The Stormcast Eternals acted as a spearhead for this assault and struck from Azir at several key points. The first goal was to secure control of vital realm gates, allowing the forces of order to re-establish supply lines and reinforce each other across the cosmos. So if you're interested in your Mortal Realm history and lore, this is the page for you. Now, finding out more about the way that kind of Sigmar pushed his orders out and the God King himself is pretty damn cool. The fact that he uses Sigmarite armor-clad Stormcast Eternals, who had never been seen in the realms before, so they must have come from Azir and kind of surprised everybody else in the Mortal Realms, as they would not know who this foe is and what this foe is doing here. So, be pretty cool, and bit of a shock and awe campaign really there. So, the Age of War begins. So, Sigmar's Storm saw victory after victory over the forces of Chaos. Through valour and sacrifice, a foe that was thought to be impossible to defeat was driven back across 100 fronts. The battlefields of Sigmar's Storm would become the foundations for many of the first great cities of Sigmar. But this victory was far from final. The servants of Chaos still control vast swathes of territory and endlessly gnaw at the borders of Sigmar's empire. Meanwhile, those defeats dealt to the armies of Chaos allowed the forces of death and destruction to flourish and begin violent campaigns of their own. So, when you defeat one enemy, several enemies may also pop up at the same time. So, and this is the case with when Sigmar's Storm kind of pushed through the realms. It allowed things like Nagash and his forces of death to then start rearing their head, and also having their own battles with good old Sigmar's Stormcast. It also gave them a chance to kind of fight each other, and there's a lot more infighting, which is why there are 4 great orders of good old Grand Alliances. So there are the Grand Alliance of Order, the Grand Alliance of Destruction, the Grand Alliance of Chaos, and the Grand Alliance of Death. All of them will focus and can be combated against each other, and there is also infighting that can happen between all of them as well. So it is what it is. And then you get a bit more information about War Drums in the Wild, Rising Darkness, and the Eternal Enemy. Then moving on, we go into more of the factions of destruction. We get the Sons of Behemat. So the Sons of Behemat, Gargants are huge, brutal descendants of the god beast Behemat. Few can match the might of these territorial titans. Gargants are huge creatures who only exist to destroy. They live brutal lives, crushing, killing, and stomping their way through entire cities simply because they can. Yeah, Gargants range in size, from the man-crusher Gargants that are twice the height of an ogre, to towering mega Gargants who dwarf even the Draconith, and alone they are dangerous enough, but unfortunately for the people of the realms, Gargants often form loose tribal groups that live and fight together. Gargant tribes, or stomps, as the Sons of Behemat call them, each have a preferred target for their ire. So, the other thing with the Sons of Behemat, obviously there are a few different ones who knock around, is you can have mercenary Sons of Behemat. So for instance, if you are playing the Forces of Death, you can have your Gatebreaker, who's kind of pictured there, as a mercenary unit, so you can utilise him as part of your Forces of Death, and he's essentially hired, because, you know, the Forces of Destruction have that kind of ability. So, for instance, you can hire as a mercenary band, for instance, in some of the stories, and I believe you can in some of the games, and some of the rules, hire the Ogre or Moor tribes, because they also like to be mercenaries, because they like gold and such like, because that's, you know, the way they are. So yeah, you get a bit more information. So you have Man-Crushers, who we do get a Man-Crusher, at least with this magazine, which will be pretty damn cool, and I'm looking forward to, in all honesty. You get Beast Smashers, Gatebreakers, War Stompers, and Kraken Eaters, which are your good old Sons of Behemat, the Mega Gargants that you're able to get hold of. They're big. Essentially, it's one kit, and it can make any one of those 4, which are pretty damn cool. So really, really interesting, and it's nice to see these in the pages already as well, because, you know, if you're going to go for a Forces of Destruction army, maybe you're going to want some Gargants. Not too bad. Anyway, moving on, we get our page for Garda Steel Soul. So, God of Steel Soul is a bringer of light and purity to the very darkest of places in the mortal realms. He is one of the only beings to have walked through Nurgle's garden of corruption and emerge unscathed. He wields his faith as a weapon and is utterly dedicated to protecting the innocent. So, God of Steel Soul, as detailed there, has walked Nurgle's garden. Nurgle's garden, if you're not sure, is part of the realm of chaos and in between realms, and sometimes creeps into other realms and spreads its poisonous kind of rot and decay, and its weird kind of regrowing and respawning of life and such like, which is very unusual. And but yeah, quite interesting as well. And you get some really good stories about the Garden of Nurgle as well. So definitely worth looking out for if you like your Warhammer fiction. And then you got your other page. Obviously, you get your chosen tactics if you want to use them. Entirely up to you, but really cool stuff. Your how to build guide. It's actually kind of simple. You can't go wrong. Personally, I don't think putting the head inside straight away is a good idea, because painting the head can be a pain in the ass. I personally would put the head in separately. It's a little bit more awkward when you're putting it all together and trying to put his head in there. But if you get some, you can get some little like carbon modeling tweezers, and you can utilize that to kind of try and get it into the right place. But yeah, pretty decent. But otherwise, a fairly simple build guide, dead easy. You are going to need glue, and you will need to trim it very nicely. And otherwise, though, when you got your base on, bit of basic texture paste maybe around the bottom, and paint it up nicely, and it's going to look stunning, I'm absolutely sure. Then your paint guide. Paint guide, fairly simple. Paint it the same way as you've been painting your other Stormcast Eternals, and you can't go wrong. If you want him to have the iconic look of the Hammers of Sigmar that you've not been painting them, you can do that as well. Entirely up to you. But a really cool mini. Definitely worth taking your time over painting, because there's a lot of detail to him. And of course, he's a hero. I'm not going to lie. Personally, I like to have my heroes look absolutely stunning, and my soldiers will sometimes not have as much of an effort put into them. But really cool. Then you got your good old War Scroll page. Almost forgot what it was called then. The War Scroll page for God of Steel Soul, and your tutorial of how to use his abilities. So of course he does have the Sigmarite War Cloak. He has a Sigmarite Rune Blade and Warhammer. He has 6 wounds, he has 10 bravery, he can move 5 inches at a time, and he has a 3+ save. So, not too bad. He is part of Hallowed Knight, so if you want him to be part of Hallowed Knights, you can. But, of course, in all honesty, he has his own abilities, so you're going to use those anyway. And you get those tutorials of how to utilise those abilities, whether it's Aura of Purity, Martyr's Strength, or Saintly Assault. Entirely up to you, though. And then we get our updated good old War Scroll for the Beast Skewer Killbow, and utilise some of its powers. So obviously it has a wounds of 5, so not too far off of what good old Gardas has. 5 bravery though, so half the bravery of God of Steel Soul can move 5 inches, and it has a 5+ save. So it is harder to save because it's an Auric, and Aurics are generally a little bit of a fodder kind of army. So you utilise quite a few of them, and they're tougher to save than they are to kill off, really. But otherwise, really cool stuff, and obviously it has some pretty cool range for killing enemies, which is always good fun. And yeah, not too bad. And then finally we have some basic rules, and then we have our battle for the week. So pretty standard, pretty easy. We get another glimpse at what's coming up. So obviously we have our Knight Judicator, we have some Sylvaneth, we have the I can't remember what they're called, the Bow Boys from the Stormcast Eternals. We have some Griffhounds, we have a Griff Charger with a fella on top, forgotten what he's called as well. We have more Hobgrots, we have a Marsh Crawler Slogoff, which is a pretty cool mini. We have some pretty cool Grots, we have Squigs. A lot of stuff to look forward to in the next 20 issues. So, really good stuff. And then, next week. So next week and the week after, issues 20 and 21 are the Marsh Crawler Slog-Off. So they do have Oryx to catch enemies and such like. It will have its own unique rules. It does have alternate build options, whether you want a net or you want the catchers. So if you want a couple of these, it's worth picking them up because they're pretty cool. And I must admit, it's a funky thing, isn't it? It just looks weird. It looks very bizarre, and yeah, bit weird. And has, you know, weird melted ears, which always amuses me. I don't know what it is with them ears, but they just amuse me. Not to give the Marsh Crawler Slog-Off a complex about anything, but you know, he has weird ears. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very, very much for watching this video, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.